This hour is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington. Personal injury, criminal, business, whatever you need, Jeremy Temple Law Office will get you taken care of.
Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat on this Monday, March 2nd. Welcome aboard from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle, Todd Leary with you as always. Jake's at the wheel, keeping things on tap. We got lots to get to today. A big-time show on the program. Five-star recruit Christian Landers with us today. Also, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. So it's going to be a big day. We got lots to talk about. Indiana's got a couple of home games to finish out the season on, and they're going to need it, Todd Leary. Yesterday's game was not it didn't end the way they wanted. Played well. They just didn't get the victory out of it.
Yeah, I tell you what, it is I really, over the years, have tried to just totally get away from worrying about it.
But, it's man.
Sorry, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, you're great. That's just a rough – man, I know what it's like to play that hard and to lose, and it really sucks. I'd rather get beat where you don't have a shot, but, man, they put themselves in a position, but they didn't do everything they needed to do to win. Now, there were some controversial calls. We have not one time talked about officiating this season. Yeah. We're going to today because it was pathetic.
Yeah, that's where I was getting to. And my microphone, I think, is trying to censor me out by not letting me say it. But my gosh, like when you go back and look at the calls now I'm gonna be the first one to say Indiana could have overcome that. I mean, by making the free throws, a lot of this changes. So I understand that, and I'm not completely blaming the officials. But because I don't think in these circumstances you can completely blame, any particular area of it. But there are some glaring issues that took place in the game yesterday. And when I can rattle four of them off the top of my head, that's pretty bad. And I swear, like I used to be completely biased, and I would always say Indiana got screwed, like the typical fan would. Kentucky fans always think Kentucky got screwed. Purdue fans think Purdue always got screwed, but I have really, really worked hard at trying to be more objective about that. And in this case, like there were four calls that were just absolutely cannot be overlooked. And if the officials, which we know they don't, that's why I'm bringing this up, because the officials have no recourse. There's no ramifications. Nothing happens to them because of this. And that to me, like I know you hear people all this time say, well, I have good friends that are officials. I mean, you hear Dockett say it all the time. Some of the officials that I know, I mean, Ed Hightower is a great guy. There's a lot of people that are great guys, but it doesn't matter. When you suck at what you're doing, like you should have ramifications against it. It would happen in any other field in the world. And today I'm starting to boil over a little bit after watching it over and over again.
And all of us as fans, we get pissed at the refs and we argue, especially when the calls don't go your way. And that happens. But there is a point, and after there's more stuff even. But yes, just the sequence yesterday and the fact that officials today, they have instant replay. It's almost infallible. Not quite, because there's plenty of times where even watching, you're like going, okay, I can't tell. It's right. Bam, bam. You can't tell. And that's fine. I get that, because that's hard for the human eye to do that. But when you have that to fall back on, damn it, use it. Yeah. And they just don't always use it to their advantage. I mean, we see it in the NFL all the time. It's almost a joke as everybody's at home going, dude, it's right there. What are you waiting on?
Yeah. No,
it blows my mind. And I know that there's always a different scenario when you're actually in the situation. So there's probably a few things that we're not aware of, but there can't be that much to where things that are this obvious are not just true. I mean, it's like, dude, Come on,
Yeah,
man. You guys
well,
need the
I'll
food.
tell you one. I'll tell you one that's not talked about all that much, which was a gigantic deal in the game yesterday. Was Kofi Coburn caught the ball in the post and made a post move, and he elbowed Duran Davis out of the way. Like one of the points of emphasis for the season for officials is when you make contact with somebody and it dislodges the other player, whether it's offensively or defensively. That's been a point of emphasis all year long. And I really think the officials they've been fairly consistent in calling it. That's what makes this such an issue, because yesterday, right in front of the official on the baseline, the official was the closest person possible to see this. Kofi Coburn turned on Duran Davis, used his elbow, and physically, I mean, you know how big he is anyway. It's very difficult to defend him. That's what makes him good. I understand that. But if you allow him to take his elbow and completely move Duran Davis, who weighs 210 million pounds, to move him out of the way and throw an elbow and get fouled and lay it in, that's unacceptable. Like, the official called a foul on Duran Davis, and you're sitting there going, if the point of emphasis all year has been to not let players dislodge each other, I mean, that's the prime example, and it was 2.5 feet in front of your nose. And you called a foul the other direction. Had they called no foul, you would have been like, yeah, should have been offensive. But that's one of 4 examples you can talk about in the game yesterday where you're like, I'm trying to be objective, but they're making it pretty difficult on me.
Yeah, and what I don't understand is why are officials not great every game? I think they should be graded every game, and not at the end of the season. In season, have somebody doing this in season. And addressing, hey, dude, you guys missed this, and this in this game. What's going on?
Here's what you hear them say all the time is, oh, yeah, we do grade them. We have people there watching this and doing this. And here's what you always hear everybody say. I mean, I've heard this since I was a kid, is they always say, well, they'll handle that. They handle that in-house. They're never going to come out in the public and say what the punishment is or what they talked about or whatever. And my question is, why? Like, why would the director of officials today or after every game, we're talking about it because it's Indiana, after every game, why would they not come out and say, hey, our officials blew these 5 calls right here, and it's going to be a point of emphasis. Bo Borowski, I'm using his as an example. He's not the one yesterday in this case, but Bo Borowski, graded as a 91% yesterday, but he had 3 really blatant calls that we feel like, affected the end of the game. If they did that and these guys felt more accountable for the calls they make, I really think they would do a better job. And I think they would let play go when it should go, and they would call it tighter when they need to call it tighter. And I think they would get better, but not having any system that holds them accountable for stuff. They cannot convince me. You can't say, oh yeah, they're held accountable. We just don't tell you what happens to them. That's not a thing. It doesn't happen in any form of life.
Normally, Don Fischer's on with us in the next segment on each Monday. He's on today, don't worry. But I have to move him to the second hour because Christian Lander's on. And because of that, I had to record the conversation with Don Fischer. In that third segment, I'm going to play something that's going to blow your mind that we're going to talk about that I can't believe happened. But we'll talk about that then. Christian Lander's on the program today. Looking forward to him, one of the recruits Indiana needs. We look at that game yesterday, and his services could be used right now at times.
Yeah, at times, all the time. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, Indiana, Indiana's guard play yesterday was pretty good. It was adequate. It wasn't extraordinary. It wasn't extra special. It wasn't great. It was adequate. It was decent and pretty good. I think the guys that are coming in next year, the 3 guards in particular, I'll say it from this standpoint. They're going to have to earn their position. There's no doubt about that. But they're definitely going to, they're going to push either the players that are there to get better, or they're going to come in and play right away. And that's a pretty good position to be in from a coaching staff's perspective.
Oh, the text line, man, they've been lighting it up already. And actually, they were lighting it up before the show even started today, which is a little unusual. But
It's fun.
Oh, yeah. Tim says, a coach gets fined for calling out an official, but a ref blows a call and gets nothing. And talked about the Illinois player. I went back and watched that where Finney tripped. It looked like to me that guy, he stuck his leg out. This was not even incidental contact, which is still a foul, mind you. But this was not even that. He sticks his leg in the path of Finney and does exactly what he's attempting to do. And it is 5 feet from an official.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal with tripping is I hate it. Like 9 times out of 10, I think it's just two guys that their feet get tangled up, or if an offensive player, just stubs his toe on a defensive player's foot,
they call it
99 times out of 100. They call it a foul on the defense. And here's what's happened. That's been the case forever since I've ever been associated with basketball. And so what happens in that case? It's just something you have to accept. I mean, it's the way it is. I don't like it, but it is the way it is. And it's always called that way. I've never one time seen a tripping call and the offensive guy got called for the foul. So it's always called the same way. And so here's the bad part. I've been willing to accept it for 50 years now. I've got myself to the point where I can accept that.
And now they take it away.
At a critical point in time in the game when it's blatant and obvious and happens right in front of an official, they let it go. And that's the stuff to me where that you can't, like, if you are the director of officials, you can't let that go. Today, I know they fly these officials all over the country and they do games in all different kinds of conferences. If I'm the director of officials in the Big Ten, I'm flying those 3 officials into my office this morning, and we're going to sit down and watch that game film. We're going to watch some different plays in that game film today.
Absolutely. Ryan from Whitlow, Michigan says for the morning show, IU wins versus Minnesota by 14 and 16 versus Wisconsin. Green bails out on senior night with 28. We'll see. Coming up next, man, we got Christian Lander, Indiana's newest and hottest recruit. He's right here on the program. Stay tuned. We're back with that from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Sliding all along the waterfall with you, my brown-eyed girl.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. And as promised, told you he was going to have one of the best interviews of the day coming here. Joining us now, the next recruit for Indiana, along with his father, Christian Lander, along with Keith, his dad. Guys, how are you guys doing, man?
Good. What about you? Good. We're doing good.
Cannot complain. Congratulations, first of all, Christian, on your commitment to Indiana. I know that that's just a huge weight off your shoulders, just no matter where you're going, to make that decision. But what was that like, just to be able to make a decision, not even mattering where, but just to be able to make a decision? How much weight was that off of your shoulders?
No, it was a whole lot of weight off my shoulders. Took a lot of stress out of me. I just felt like it was time to make a decision based on what my top schools were, how they were recruiting me.
And those schools, Michigan, Indiana, Louisville, Memphis, I believe some great schools, all great programs. And, of course, the home school, State Indiana. What is there any one thing that kind of pushed you in one direction, the direction of the Hoosiers?
That's their consistency. They always have time to text me or call me. They don't let weeks go by without texting or calling me. They've been recruiting me since my freshman year, so just the consistency and loyalty.
As you get to watch them play, for either in person or on TV, whatnot, are you able to look and see how you may be able to add to what's going on with them and see things? Hey, man, I could help out in this area. Maybe I look for, and I'm sure you're just looking forward to being a part of it. But are you able to look at it and see yourself inserted in that lineup and in those games, whether it's against Michigan or Michigan State, and how those big games will be playing? But are you able to visualize that?
Yes, for sure. The main thing I visualize is mainly the pick and roll with Trace, and just being able to come on to pick and roll with him would be a big part. Man, he has certainly had a great freshman season, one of the best freshmen in the country, much less in the Big Ten, and a lot of expectations. When Romeo came in, expectations. Trace Jackson-Davis came in, expectations. There's going to be expectations for Christian Lander too, because you're a highly sought-after player, and everybody wanted you. You're a great player. We've seen you play, but a lot of expectations come with that too. How does a kid manage to play the game and to deal with all the expectations, Christian? At this point, I feel like I don't really listen to what people have to say outside of my circle that I have. I used to, and it kind of used to get to me a little bit, but now at this point, I just stick to listening to people that's in my circle. Keith, as a parent, I know him and his mom is probably relieved that the decision has come to a point now. But also, I know you guys care about your son and his future. And how much stress was it for you guys for this decision to be made? I'm gonna speak for me. I think it was, a nice size weight taken off the shoulders. More for him, just seeing him kind of go through the process and start to see things kind of like not really like bad stress, but a little bit of I guess anxiousness and wanting to be able to
make a decision on where you want to go and where you want to, start your new chapter in your life and get on with the next, your next journeys and everything like that. So it's kind of like, for him, it was more of a weight, off our shoulders, also just watching him kind of go through that process. But at the same time, it like he said numerous of times, and like I've said numerous of times, that experience was awesome and we would never take that back.
I can only imagine the pride and the happiness that you guys share as a parent. I have a child. I know I can imagine, but I can only imagine that the pride and what you guys and excitement you have for Christian is. I mean, Indiana is one of the top programs in the country. To see your child be able to achieve something like that, it's got to be just amazing.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like this process of him being recruited for one is started it off as us being so proud of him. I mean, we're proud of him anyway because he's a really good kid. He's an excellent student, and just as people are starting to notice that he's a pretty good ball player too. So all that coming together is awesome to be able to go to a historic program like Indiana, and him being able to maybe even be able to contribute pretty quickly when he gets there.
Absolutely. And Christian, I know that the perfect time of year too. It's got to be helpful because it's time for the boys tournament in Indiana high school basketball. So your tournament's about to start next week. So perfect timing in that regard, but at least you get that off of your shoulders. You can focus on the tournament. How excited are you looking forward, to just playing in the tournament without having that pressure on you?
I feel really good. I feel like now I can just concentrate on just playing my game more, just concentrate on the team and what we have to do to make it as far as we can in the tournament.
Absolutely. Looking exciting. And it's a great season. I know there's been some talk to reclassification. And how long does it take for that decision to make or what all goes into that decision? I don't know who should answer that better, Keith or Christian. What's either one? I don't, whoever you guys want to take that.
I'll take it. As the process goes on, we're just looking into making sure we know exactly what needs to happen for him to reclassify and understanding is it feasible, the timing for it, and things like that. We just had a meeting last week with the counselor and the academic people and trying to get that thing all lined out for maybe even taking an extra course or two his last grading period, so he can have one or two more. I can't remember if it's one or two more for the summer. So as he's playing, AAU, he can have just one that he has to deal with, or maybe two. I can't remember right now, but that process has got to be lined out to where we know exactly what he's going to take and when he's going to take those things. But it's very much in the process of being taken care of and being lined out for us to move forward with that reclassification.
When will you know or is there a time that you'll know for sure, yeah, this is where we're going, this is what we're going to do, or how long that will take before you'll know?
Oh, it shouldn't be too long from now. It shouldn't be too far away. Once they get this all lined out, we'll be able to figure out if that's something that we're definitely going to move forward with and how we're going to move forward doing that. That stuff is definitely going to come out pretty soon, probably within the next couple of weeks, to know if we can definitely do it or not.
Yeah, and it's not a question of whether he wants to or you are wanting to. He wants to do this. It's just a matter of whether or not he can get all the things done that needed to do it. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That's exactly correct.
And Christian, what prompted you to want to reclassify? I know that there's a lot of talk you want to play with Trace Jackson. You mentioned that a minute ago. How important to you is that?
It's really important. I just felt like the school itself, I feel like I could come with the skill level I have now. I feel like I can come straight in and contribute. And that's about it. I just been thinking about it for a while, and that was a decision I wanted to make. If I can do it, then I can do it. But if I have to go 2021, then I'll do that too.
Now, a lot of the other guys, when they come in, and I know they've probably have worked on you, whether it's, and you've had the fortune of getting to play with a lot of the guys that are coming in already, Trey Galloway and Anthony Leal. You played a lot with those guys, and that's very fortunate because not everybody has that opportunity. But how cool is that to be going to a college team to where you have played with half the guys on the roster?
It's a really big deal to me because coming straight in, we already know how each other play a little bit. We would already have that chemistry already, so it would be good.
And so many kids from Indiana. How important is that to you? I know that a lot of people talk about that. The fans, they love to see the Indiana kids on the Hoosiers team. Of course, it makes sense. And they've gotten away from that a little bit, but especially as they're trying to rebuild to get this program back to where the greatness of which it strived to and went through for so many long years. You're a big part of this new wave of Hoosier players that are going to be playing for Indiana. How important is that to you to take some of that pride from the state on to your next level?
It's a pretty big deal, knowing that Indiana fans are pretty crazy. They're loyal to all their players that come through Indiana. I think that's just a big deal in general.
Now, with your tournament coming up, are you going to be able to make it to any more of the IU's games?
I'm not positive, but probably not since we play on the weekends.
Right. And then as you prepare for after your high school season's over, then this summer, what are your plans for the summer playing? What are you going to be doing there to prepare to move on to college?
Just continuing to work on my game, watching film from whenever the high school season ends and seeing what I need to work on. What I see right now is just continuing to get stronger, the pick and roll, getting the pick and roll together, and just getting my shot more consistent.
And Keith, as a parent, now that the decision has been made, it just doesn't end there. I know that there's a lot of, not I don't want to say stress, but there are people asking things like us, asking for interviews or obligations and having to do this and that. It doesn't end yet, but what all are some of the things that they have to continue to doing that takes up so much of their time besides just playing basketball?
Now, like you said, doing the interviews, people want to, ask a lot of questions about what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. And, you got kids that look up to him now and has been, even before he committed, and have been looking up to him. So, you got kids that want to take out a little bit of time here and there too, which he has no problem with at all. But, that's just a part of the process. I mean, it's not nothing that he's irritated by or stresses him out. I mean, he understands that's a part of this whole deal, and he's handling it really well, in my opinion. It's just really more about, him just staying in the gym and continuing to really just, like he said, get stronger, work on his craft, work on, getting better every day. And that's just other than that, he's got to get his schoolwork done, like we mentioned just a little bit ago, but that's going to be added and get a little bit more hectic in that aspect, but I think he can do it. I think we all have agreed that he'll be able to do it, and that we're gonna try to get this thing done so he can get on to IU.
I hear that, man. Hey, Christian, and speaking of that, I remember when I was I was an immature moron. I probably still am, but I can't imagine going to college a year early because I was immature. But I've been around you enough, and you're not like that. But it's got to be exciting knowing that you're a year early too. But you're going to be going away to college because that's a big deal in and of itself. Forget the basketball part of it, the college life part of it. That's a whole new deal, and it's something else you're looking forward to. I'm sure, but that's got to be an exciting thing to be looking forward to.
Oh yeah, it's super exciting. I'm just looking forward to moving on to the next step of my basketball career and my life in general.
And I know a lot of the guys that I mentioned earlier that you played with before, Trey Galloway, Anthony Leal, they spend a lot of time recruiting you and recruiting others, and we see that a lot. Now, who are you going to be, or anybody you're going to be recruiting to IU, trying to get them to commit as well to help you turn the tide?
I had a couple of people. I'll probably some people like Aminu Muhammad or Caleb First.
Definitely like to see those guys on there. I mean, you guys could have and if you reclassify, of course, to 2020, that 2021 class is still going to be big as well. A lot of guys coming in. Indiana looking to have a complete roster overhaul in these next few years, this wave of players coming in. It's pretty amazing, the talent level. It keeps getting higher and higher. Trace Jackson-Davis, Christian Lander, of course, and it's just going to get better and better. You've got to be looking forward to the talent that's going to be in Bloomington by the time you get there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a whole lot of talent coming out of Indiana and around Indiana, so I'm pretty excited about it.
And having played with Trey and Anthony plenty of times before, what's it going to be like, though, to play with them at IU, at Indiana, in college, on that big stage in the Big Ten? I mean, we're not talking high school anymore or AU. This is the big time.
It'll be pretty crazy since we've already played with each other. We never really thought that we were all going to go to the same school. I feel like once we get there and be on the court together, I feel like we'll just have that chemistry and that head start that we need.
Once the decision was made, what was have you had conversations with them, I'm sure, since you made the commitment between Trey and Anthony?
Yeah, they just congratulated me and looking forward to playing with me when I get there.
Absolutely. What are you looking forward to most now?
As of the end of the high school career, or when?
Sure, both.
Just to make it as far as we possibly can this tournament. Since the tournament's just now starting, just making it as far as we can, and then going through AAU, trying to win the Peach Jam in the EYBL, and then trying to get a college start after that.
Now, you guys, does your tournament start on Tuesday, Christian?
Yeah, but we have the bye, so we won't play till Friday.
Who you guys got Friday night?
We got the winner between Jasper and Harrison.
And you've beaten both of those teams already this year, haven't you?
Yep.
Good deal. Well, good luck, man. I cannot thank you guys enough. Thank you so much, Keith. Thank you so much, Christian. Congratulations, first of all, man. Congratulations. Looking forward to covering you for the next couple of years once you get to Bloomington.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And the best of luck this week in the IHSA tournament, man. We appreciate you guys and wish you the best of luck. Looking forward to seeing you both soon.
Thank you. All right. Thank you a lot.
Thank you guys very much. All right, there's Keith and Christian Lander coming to you this morning here on Indiana Sports Beat. The newest recruit for the Indiana Hoosiers. Biggest recruit, fourth biggest recruit of all time, I think I saw that. But looking forward to him playing on that court next year, man. It's going to be fun. But we got a lot more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat from the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios. We're back with that right after this. Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the golf club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The golf club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hi, this is AJ Moye, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle.
Everything that they were showing, they never showed that play to the officials. And the official, Terry Oglesby, said, "Is that all you got for me?" Because they really stopped it before the elbow was thrown. They stopped the replay before the elbow was thrown to show him. Can you believe that? I mean, that's unbelievable.
Now, that's something that says the Big Ten Conference has got to step in. That's Don Fischer joining us on an interview that you can hear in full a little later here on the show. And for those of you listening on the radio, if you only have the full hour or only 1 hour, this is a good point for you to ask for all hours of Indiana Sports Beat to be carried. But you can listen to Don coming up. Todd, there we go. I'm not sure. I know that in the heat of the moment, there's so much going on. And, there you go. I mean, I don't know what happened, what didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a look. If they didn't show the fact that the elbow was thrown, I guess here's what a lot of people are going to argue is, okay, well, the guy didn't land the elbow. So, I mean, I'm assuming that's probably going to be the argument in the case, but I don't know that should be the argument. I mean, the guy throws an elbow and then gets up in Rob's face and says, "What the F do you think you're doing?" And Rob never says jack and sits there and does exactly what the officials and coaching staff and everybody would want him to do in that case to diffuse the situation, and then there's no reward for it. There's no reward for acting the way they want you to act. They let the guy act like an idiot from Illinois and throw an elbow, which should be a flagrant one, even though it didn't land. He threw an elbow. It's not a basketball play, and that's one of the parameters. So I mean, And if they didn't show that's what I think Fish is so PO'd about, is as we all would be. If the official comes over and says, what do you have to show me, and they don't say they have anything to show him that shows an elbow being thrown, then I mean somebody is negligent.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Of course, listen to tonight, Archie Miller's radio show with Don. It'll be at the Holiday Inn there. He said he'll be bringing it up to the coach tonight and see what his thoughts are on it. But it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting / frustrating as can be when you sit there and look at that. I mean, there's just, I went back and look at a few different things in the last 24 hours. I definitely just looked at what we had talked about earlier with what Fish had said. And I mean, if they didn't show that elbow being thrown, I don't even know, like that's a whole new issue. Like it's
completely separate. It's completely separate. That has nothing to do with the horrible calls that were taking place on the court.
Right.
Which again, I want to make sure everybody, we have not talked about officiating ever, and Indiana's lost some crap, and it's not, and like Todd said early on, it's, hey, they had their opportunities too, but you want a fair shot
That's all you want. You want a fair shot, but you also want officials that are competent to make the right decisions in key times of the game, because these same officials, they're going to be officiating the Big Ten tournament, the NCAA tournament. You want guys that are making the right calls.
Yeah, and here's my point here's my bigger point than just Indiana winning and losing. Let's say Indiana makes those free throws and does win. I still want somebody held accountable for not reviewing that elbow that's thrown. Just because in the outcome of the game, I think there was some things that happened in this game that probably helped determine the outcome, which is very unfortunate and sucks. Like, as an official, and I know officials for the most part are good people. They don't want to affect the outcome. It is a very difficult job. I get that. There's a lot of difficult jobs in the world. Like, it just because it's difficult doesn't give you an excuse to be bad at it and miss some things that are just common sense and point blank in some situations. And when you look at this, when you allow a kid to throw an elbow and the other kid doesn't react, the other kid from another team, take Indiana and Illinois out of it. Let's just say that this is two random teams at whatever level. When one kid throws an elbow and the other kid doesn't react, that's what you're taught to do. That is Rob Phinisee reacted exactly how every coach and every official and every Big Ten commissioner and everybody would want him, his parents. That's exactly how they would want him to react to that. And he should get rewarded for it. And in this case, you let a guy act like a complete thug for Illinois. You let him act like that, and he has there's no reason why he won't do that again in the next game, because this didn't cost him anything.
And not only that, isn't a trip a flagrant foul?
Yeah, no, a trip wouldn't be a flagrant foul, but it's a foul. I mean, it's a two-shot foul.
To me, it should be a flagrant foul because that's done with purpose.
Well, if it's done with intent, I agree with you.
Well, to me, when I look at that, I watched that replay yesterday. I saw intent. I saw him extend his leg into his pass.
So what the kid from Duke, I can't remember, Grayson Allen. Okay, now his were blatant.
Right,
sticks his foot out, tries to trip a guy. Those are straight up trips.
I thought this was pretty close to that.
The Frazier kid yesterday. So this is why it should. This is why it definitely should be called a foul, because in today's. One of their points of emphasis the officials are looking at is like your cylinder, like your area that your body can maintain. So when you set a screen, you're not supposed to have your feet wider than, the frame of your body. And when you're playing, when you are getting down on defense, if your feet are outside the normal frame of your body and you trip somebody, it is 100% a foul. It's called a foul every single time, and there's no questions asked. Okay, if you are standing still and a guy runs up and he just happens to, and your feet are together and a guy happens to trip on your foot, I could see them making an argument that that's not a foul. But that's not the case here. He is down in a defensive stance and he has his legs so widespread. Frazier is the kid from Illinois who ends up tripping Rob Phinisee. His feet are so widespread that if anyone trips off of his foot, it is guaranteed fact in the rule book listed as a foul. And it doesn't matter whether his foot moves or doesn't move, or it doesn't matter what the deal with it is. If his legs are that widespread and somebody trips over his leg, it's a foul on him. And that's exactly what happened. And that's something the officials cannot. There's no explanation out of saying that should have been a foul.
Absolutely. Some other big games yesterday, man. Minnesota, you got to feel for them. They've lost some close ones. They go on the road to Wisconsin. And they lose by 2, man, 71-69. And this is a team that's lost a lot too. They've lost a lot of guys. So
let's start feeling sorry for them next Thursday.
Yeah. And then yesterday, the game of the knots. Northwestern was at Nebraska, the two worst teams in the conference. That game goes to overtime appropriately. Northwestern with the road win, upset 81-76 over in Nebraska.
Yeah, I mean that was, battle of the almost who cares, except for I like Hoiberg. So
yeah, it's gotta be disappointing for him because they'd kind of gotten it going, and to lose at home to the which makes you the absolute worst team in the conference, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it puts them down there where both of them have the same record now at 2-16, and that's one, especially getting into overtime and playing at home. Like you would definitely hope to win that one, and it can kind of. There's a difference between being last in the Big Ten and second to last in the Big Ten, and with the the expectation level being so low for them this year, not finishing last, it just has a little different feeling. But it's not the case. They didn't get it. They got a couple more chances, and they can go in the Big Ten tournament and try to do something.
Michigan went on the road to Ohio State, where they lost to the Buckeyes 77-63. So it's a pretty much expected outcome there. Things are taking shape right now. If you look at the standings, Todd, Indiana is in that last four, but they have those 2 home games that they'll play themselves out of that, of course. But right now they're in that last four of the conference.
Yeah, and I mean, if you look at the remaining schedules, just assuming that Indiana does what it's supposed to do. I mean, Indiana with 2 home games has the easiest remaining schedule. But when you look at it, I mean, Indiana is kind of in that last 4, but should probably finish around 7th by the time it's all done. Because, I mean, Rutgers is probably going to finish below them. Purdue's almost definitely going to finish below them. And, Indiana's got a chance to finish tied with Michigan, which – doesn't sound all that bad when you look at what Michigan's been able to accomplish this season. So, they just got to win their home games. They win their home games a week from now, we will feel pretty darn good about the situation heading into the Big Ten tournament. But, they're not going to be easy. I mean, no game is easy. I mean, the 2 teams that Indiana finishes with, Minnesota and Wisconsin, played each other last night on TV, and they both have really good players that made a bunch of plays, and they're making shots, and you got Wisconsin playing. I mean, Wisconsin's the surprise in the league, in my opinion, at where they're at. And, they're not going to be 2 easy games, but they're at home and you should win them.
That's the great thing. Wisconsin is crazy. Also, you got Penn State. Looking at the Big Ten standings, just for giggles, if you were selecting a Big Ten coach of the year in this season, man, I think it's tough because – how do you ignore Turgeon, who's looking at potentially winning the conference for the first time for Maryland? Wisconsin, like you mentioned. I think that between Maryland and Wisconsin, Greg Gard, coach of the year, but you got to go with Turgeon. I think they're going to win their first, potentially win their first. And remember how many we talked about the losses right now, Todd? Maryland sitting with 5 losses, but They may not be done.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. I mean, you look at the winner of the Big Ten very easily could have 6 losses. But, I mean, if you're talking coach of the year, so if you look at the Big Ten standings, there are 6 teams that are currently ranked. Now, that may change today, but going into today, there were 6 teams that were ranked. And two of the top 8 teams, Illinois and Wisconsin, which are both tied for second in the league, are not ranked. But then below them, Penn State, Iowa, Ohio State, and Michigan all are ranked. So if you want my honest opinion, I think the coach of the year goes to either Illinois or Wisconsin's coaches. I mean, I think those 2 guys have probably those 2 programs have overachieved the most. And then beyond that, I would say Penn State.
I agree.
Other than that, everyone else up there, I mean, Maryland's no surprise being where they are. Michigan State's no surprise being where they are. Yes, they played good, but I mean, when you're looking at where Illinois was picked, and Illinois has no respect. They get no respect nationally. Wisconsin's lost enough bad games. I can understand why they're not ranked, but they've also got they've got some of the best wins in the league, but on the road especially. But when you look at the fact that 2 teams that are tied for second place in what every single person in the country has agreed is the toughest conference in the country, and 2 teams tied for second are not even ranked. That just kind of tells you that these guys are failing the eye test when they're looking at ranking teams nationally.
Yeah, because both those teams are going to end up with at least 20 wins. Illinois already at that spot. I mean, right. How many? 1, 2. Wisconsin's probably going to win it. Well, we don't know that they're going to win another game in league play. But if they did, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I mean,
5,
they play
6, 7.
They play Northwestern at home on Wednesday, so they'll probably win that game. So they'll have 20 wins also.
I think the Big Ten ends up with 8 teams with 20 wins or more.
Yeah.
That's pretty deep.
It is.
And that includes Indiana. I'm expecting them to win their final 2 games, which will put them at 20 wins on the season and 10-10. I think that's what I said at the beginning of the year. I thought they'd go 10-10 in the conference.
I think you did. And I think we all agreed that was probably, that was probably the expectation level. Now I think they've probably lost a few games that they really could have won. So I think they could have beat our expectations.
Oh, absolutely they could have. That's what's disappointing is you go back to the Maryland game and, yesterday. I mean, that's both of those games right there were easily winnable.
The Maryland game at home was, I mean, they had to do some crazy stuff just to lose that game.
And they did.
and then not showing up against Purdue. I mean, those two home losses in the Big Ten are ones that stand out in the year where your season looks dramatically different. If Indiana's 10-8 right now instead of 8-10, that's a much different perspective on the year right now. I mean, we're talking about 5 seeds right now versus
absolutely
10 seeds.
That is how close, how different, how razor thin these lines are this season, especially.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It really is.
Mean, going forward, and as we look forward, do you see in the Big Ten? I still don't see a team that has really stepped out. I thought that Maryland or maybe Michigan State would kind of start really exuding flexing their muscles. No, they're winning. I mean, people are holding court, but no one has really separated themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think those two probably have separated themselves a little bit, although you look at it and Michigan State is tied with Illinois and Wisconsin. So, it's kind of stupid to say they've separated themselves. I think they're playing the best. If you look at the eye test part of it, Maryland losing at home to Michigan State this weekend, I mean, that kind of leveled it back out to me because I thought Maryland had really kind of separated themselves.
I did too.
From everyone. But then Michigan State went in there and really controlled the whole game. I mean, they were I don't even know why I'm saying really. They did control the whole game. I mean, that was a solid victory on the road. It wasn't a fluke. They didn't make, ridiculous amount of 3-pointers or anything crazy. I mean, they just played good and went in there and stomped them. And they showed what, Maryland is one of the most talented teams. They're probably the most talented team in the Big Ten. But they suffer from shooting. I mean, if they don't shoot the ball well, I will say this: they could be a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament, and they could lose their first game. They could easily lose their second game if they have one of those games where they don't shoot the ball well. But if they go on a shooting run and have 4 straight games of shooting the ball well, they will be in the Final Four. That's how big of a difference it is for them. It's not. Jalen Smith is a great player and one of the best players in the Big Ten. Anthony Cowan, I mean, I think you're finally seeing Anthony. This is the Anthony Cowan I think everyone expected as a freshman. I mean, this kid was talked about being one and done, and he right now is playing as well as anyone in the Big Ten. And I really feel like Maryland goes as Anthony Cowan goes. And when he is aggressive and plays well and shoots the ball well, they're almost unbeatable.
Man, and this conference could come down. Maryland's got a game lead on everybody. You got 3 guys in second, but they are at Rutgers tomorrow night.
Yeah,
and Rutgers is capable of winning that game.
They are, and look, I mean, they could lose both their last 2 games.
They're at home to Michigan on that last night.
But Michigan, so Michigan loses to Ohio State yesterday at Ohio State, and you're like, yeah, they should. But then think about before that, they didn't have Anthony Livers, and they went on the road and beat Purdue and Rutgers. They went to Rutgers and were the first team to beat Rutgers at home, and that was without Anthony Livers. I mean, I'm just saying Michigan is capable of pulling off. Now, do we expect them to win? No. But would it totally shock me? No, not really.
You talked about that funky schedule Indiana had all year long, and now they end the season with back-to-back home games. All 4 of these other teams that we're talking about, Maryland, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Illinois, who are all fighting at the top, every one of them have split home and away games. So Indiana has an advantage on picking up a couple more wins there. But Maryland can, this is going to be interesting to see these last couple of games play out, man.
Yeah,
this thing is going to go right down to the end.
We have been saying all year long about how tough Indiana's schedule is, and I mean it. Yes, one from the opponents, but more from the standpoint of the 2 consecutive road games and having that 4 different times throughout the Big Ten season is almost unheard of. No one else in the league had it. I checked every single schedule. Not another team had it that way. So that's why people viewed Indiana's schedule as so difficult. But throughout all of that, in all of our conversations, we have just kind of, glossed over the fact that we say, well, they end the year with 2 home games. They'll win those 2 home games. And if they do, we're going to feel great a week from now. Next Monday, talking about what seed Indiana has. They won't be playing on Wednesday in the NCAA or in the Big Ten tournament. So we'll be talking about, doing our show on that Thursday from the tap and being excited about not playing on Wednesday and the Big Ten tournament. But it all comes down to just what we said. I mean, they've got to win those 2 home games. It's pretty much that simple.
Got to do it. We got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat on this Monday. Don Fischer's with us in the next hour. Stay tuned. We're back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after that.
Must be someone above. Say, come on, girl.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make it tea time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lord, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
You're on the line with Jamal Meeks, former Indiana Hoosier, number 23, 1992. And I'm on the beat with Jim Coyle.
Had some guys step up and play on our end, which I was proud of. In general, though, our effort and our attitude is good. We finished this week off, obviously, with 2 disappointing losses, but we were better today than we were on Wednesday, which was a positive. Now we go home, and everything's got to be erased from your memory, and you're on to the next one, which is, in all reality, the last gasp of air, so to speak, in the regular season in this league, which has been hard for everybody. So, give Illinois credit. I'm proud of our guys, too. Fought. Just came up short today.
Questions for Coach?
Coach Archie Miller talking about his guys' effort at Illinois yesterday. Alan from Bird's Eye hits the text line, which you can do as well, 812-269-6367. Morning, guys. Illinois could walk over 25 Houston. Wisconsin could beat 21 Colorado. Just to agree with the poor rankings. Yeah, those rankings are funny. They just been flip-flopping all year long. Ryan, also up in Michigan, says, yes, I wanted IU men's hoops to win like every IU fan, but I am very optimistic in the way we are playing moving forward. We will win our final 2 home games like I was saying, and with the defense we are playing, it will be well-suited for tournament play, and the guards are starting to hit their stride at the right time. Ryan, thank you for the text. You're being
you know what we need to start doing every day is we need to wake up and call Ryan and talk to him in the morning because he's
that positive energy, baby.
He's the most positive, optimistic person on the planet, and I love it.
I was just getting ready to say we appreciate the positive energy.
He is, man. Everybody needs to start their morning with a call to Ryan because he'll get you pumped up for the day.
Ryan, you are the designated sunshine maker.
Eternal optimist.
Here you go, the eternal optimist. Some sad news for Indiana football, man. Dave Ballou, who former player at Indiana and has been the strength coach there, of course, they have kind of they've set standards for Indiana in that deal. Well, they're so good that Nick Saban said, you know what? I think he may be the best out there, and he went and got him. Dave Ballou now heading to Alabama. So Indiana's looking for a new strength coach. I don't know if they're getting the doc with him, but those guys are both making like $400,000 a year already. So as a strength coach, he's going to be making, gosh knows, at Alabama, probably close to $1 million, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, if it was equal money, that's a job you take anyway. I mean, that's a step up, and that's no rip against Tom Allen, Indiana. No. It's no. I mean, it's just
the truth.
It's just fact. It's just
that's just real life, people. That is just real. I mean, he basically just went to the Yankees.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Alabama is, the Yankees of college football. I mean, there's no disputing that. And Nick Saban doesn't seem like he's slowing down anytime soon.
Well, no. I mean, he's probably hungrier than ever right now after his team just basically was a non-factor for a year. I mean, that doesn't sit very well with him.
Oh, he's just stewing. He's stewing.
He is a stewing, that's for sure.
There's a clip that came by. Was it on Twitter? No, the Blue Jays, Ken Giles, who was a former Astro, I think, said he's willing to give back the 2017 Astros World Series ring. Because
how about his salary?
I guarantee you that's
he can keep the ring and give back his salary and donate that to a charity, and then it'll be a gesture.
That is a great suggestion.
I mean, we've discussed this on here. I mean, the fact that those Major League Baseball just completely made buffoons of themselves by not penalizing that team beyond belief. And I mean, I don't care. I shouldn't say I don't care. I love hearing other people's opinions because I can tell you my opinion changes. When someone makes a good point, I like hearing it. Yeah. I really like hearing it.
You're like me. You can be swayed with facts.
I can be swayed with fact, and you can just don't quote. Well, that's what these people said because I don't know unless you know who these people are. I don't want to hear it.
They always say.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. Well, who's everybody? No, that's not fact. So, but in this scenario, I mean, I would love for now. Major League Baseball has no reason to need to explain anything to Todd Leary, but my gosh, they're never going to sway my opinion unless there is some documentary on something that they give a reason that makes a lot of sense because the only thing they did in this case was make the 25 players that are on the Houston Astros happy and pissed off millions. Like it's a numbers game at that point.
Well, I know. I think I can't remember if you were on the day we talked about in the first 5 games of the season, they've been hit 7. They were hit 7 times. Houston players were.
Yeah, I mean that's
It's not going away.
It's not going away. Hey, look, we're in preseason baseball, and these guys don't even really care right now.
They're pissed. There are guys that are pissed that they feel cheated.
Wait till the games matter. I'll bet you that it might be 7 a game, and I think players will just look at the major leagues and be like, "Yeah, let's see what you're going to do." I mean, you've proven you're not going to penalize anybody. You're threatening you're going to penalize me. It is not scaring me because you're proving you're not going to penalize anybody.
There's some. I mean, the accusation of Altuve wearing a damn buzzer, and there's that replay showing him when he was coming to home on a home run, and he's telling him, "Don't pull my shirt off," and he's pointing to something. It's really damning. It's just to me, it's embarrassing to Major League Baseball because of what you said. They didn't do a damn thing about it.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they made 25 players happy by not penalizing them, and pissed off. I mean, how many? 25 times the other 30-some teams in the league.
How many millions of fans?
And then fan wise, it's just incredible.
You think the fans of these teams aren't pissed off? You think the Los Angeles Dodgers fans aren't pissed off?
Well, you said this, and it's true. I mean, it is definitely the factor. But my opinion of what they should have done is they should have made them sit out an entire season, and every player that was on the roster, every coach should have gotten like a 3-year ban. Every executive should have gotten like a 3-year ban, and the entire team and every player should have gotten a full year ban. And every team that was playing the Astros that year should have got just an automatic win, and it's a day off. But I mean, money wise, that's not feasible, and that was your answer, and that is exactly the only reason why that wouldn't make sense. But otherwise, short of just kicking them out, I mean, the value of that, here's the thing. The value of that franchise, make up a number. What is it? 5 billion, 10 billion, 3 billion? I don't know. I don't know what a Major League Baseball franchise is worth. But let's say it's $1 billion. Okay. I don't know where that is close-wise. But after a scandal like this, the value of that franchise should be half of that. I mean, if this was a company and they did something that, everyone in the world hated and thought was terrible, the value of that company would go down like crazy. And that's what I think should happen to the Houston Astros. I mean, you really want to penalize them? Penalize their pocketbook.
That's truth. I mean, and should they? I think so. I mean, you see, like, Louisville and college basketball and many other teams throughout, they've taken banners down. This banner should be removed.
That's the thing, though. I don't give a crap about that banner. I mean, I think that's what.
I meant the championship itself. I meant the championship. The fact that they've been given a World Series title.
But then what do you do with that? I mean, you can't go give it to the team that lost. No. What can you really do with that? Like I get what you're saying. Yes, they shouldn't be crowned the champions. They shouldn't be recognized as World Series champions, whether it's this year or 25 years from now when one of them is going into the Hall of Fame. They should all never be allowed to be put in the Hall of Fame. Every single one of it, every player that was ever on that roster, manager, executive, owner, should never be allowed to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame. And they should take all of the people that were associated. If you took the value of that franchise and cut it in half, so if it's worth $1 billion, make it worth $500 million. You hit somebody in the pocketbook like that, you don't think every owner is not going to keep track of what's going on with his team from that point forward? You think you cost somebody $500 million. You don't think that they're not going to start keeping track of it? That's how you make an example out of them. And they cheated. It isn't like they were beneficiaries of a bad call here and there or whatever. They straight up cheated, and they admitted it. And
Leary's laying down the law, baby. Leary's laying down the law.
That's right. That's my 2 cents, and it's worth 1 penny.
North Carolina State goes to Duke tonight. Not a lot of good games on, but that's kind of Texas Tech's at number 2 Baylor. So there you go. It's a 9:00 game. That could be something worth watching.
I was thinking about this earlier. What do you think about this? Okay, so Texas Tech and Baylor both played on Saturday, and they're both playing again on Monday. At this time in the year, I love teams that have schedules like that because that's the way the NCAA tournament happens. You got 1 day turnaround and you play again the second day later. I like that kind of schedule for the Big 12 right now with that. And I don't know that they were, I don't know that they asked for it to be set up that way. I'm assuming no. I don't think you really get that, don't think you get that kind of leniency in setting your own schedule within conference. But I like how that works out for them, because that's how the NCAA tournament's going to be, a Thursday, Saturday, or Friday, Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of smart scheduling.
I like it. I think it's a good thing. Now, of course, you want the rest and you want all that, but think about it. They're going to play today and Monday, and then they're not going to play again until Saturday. I mean, they're in Bob Knight's world, that's a full week off.
And and during the regular season, you always have those days in between games, and then you get to the NCAA tournament, and then it's a 1 day rest in between. That's kind of just like our high school days. I mean, there's not that big of a deal to having that 1 day in between, is there? Or is that much of an adjustment?
It becomes physically, it's a little bit tougher physically, but once the game starts, it's not really that big of a deal. The biggest deal is the preparation and the turnaround. And so within their conference, so you got Baylor playing Texas Tech. All right. I mean, I don't know this. I'm guessing because it's in conference, they've probably already played each other. If they haven't, I know they're probably super familiar with most of the players on the other team and how they play and all that. The preparation for this it'll be more about tendencies. So it'll be, okay, when Baylor's big guy catches in the lane, he always turns to his left shoulder. I mean, it'll be that kind of tendency stuff. But for the most part, what defense Baylor plays. You know how they handle ball screens. They double team them or trap or whatever. And so when it's in your conference, it's one thing. But let's just say it's in the NCAA tournament. Right now they've got Indiana projected in its first game against Houston. So if Indiana plays Houston and wins, and then they turn around in their second game and they're going to play, I don't know, make up another team. They're in another conference. They're going to play Kentucky. Okay. I mean, Indiana hasn't played Kentucky this year, and that'll be a completely new scouting report, and they'll be, and we've done this before. So if you played like a noon game or a 2:00 game on that Thursday for the NCAA tournament, and you win on Thursday at 2:00, you will start preparing for, like if you win at you play at 2:00, you're done at 4, you get back to the hotel by 8:00 at night. You are preparing for, if the other game hasn't happened yet, both teams that you could possibly play against. And you're already watching film. You're already talking about players. You're already doing personnel. You're doing tendencies. You're already doing that. So at Indiana, we were big on preparation. So, you would already be prepping for that. And, the managers, from a manager's perspective, the coaching staff, they've got their managers prepared for all 80 teams that have a chance of making the NCAA tournament. They got game film on all 80 of them right now. And they're already breaking stuff down. I mean, if right now Indiana's projected on Lenardi's deal at playing Houston, they've got so much Houston film going on right now, it's crazy. And it's a business when it comes to that.
Absolutely. Hey, last week Indiana's baseball team was supposed to open up crazily, but instead they're going to do it this week. It's still back at it. But they had been on a little heater, man. They had won 6 in a row. They lost to number 13 Ole Miss 9-5 yesterday to snap that winning streak. But, man, they're still doing well. They're starting off the season 6-3. They do open up the home season against the Boilers on Wednesday. 3:05, man. I'll be out there for that. Looking forward to it. So.
They're lucking into some decent weather on that one.
I'm telling you, a lot better than last week.
For sure.
A lot better than last week.
Although it's supposed to rain, I think, on Wednesday, isn't it?
Of course, it probably would. I wouldn't be surprised. But
we got
50s, a lot more
50s this time of year. You'll take it.
Oh, wasn't it like 63 or something like that yesterday? I didn't get out much because we were doing the game and all that. But, it seemed beautiful. I know it's going to be a little chillier today, but looking forward to that. Hey, we got Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers, coming up next. Stay tuned. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat with Coyle Larry, back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios right after this.
It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs,
Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
I'm Rain Shaddy, and I'm a Hoosier. As a toddler, you could always find me running around in a cream and crimson onesie and a red IU hat reminiscent of those worn during the world-famous William Tell timeout, shouting, "Go Hoosiers!" Like many other alum, I chose to make Bloomington my home. As a civic and alumni leader, I have become very knowledgeable about our community and would love to share my insights with you as your realtor. Find me on Facebook or call or text me, Ryan Shaddy, with FC Tucker Bloomington Realtors at 765-623-9093.
Now that warm weather has arrived, it's time to hit the links, and there's no better place than the Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington. Voted best golf course by the readers of the Bloomington Herald-Times, the Golf Club at Eagle Point is under new ownership, has new fairways and bunkers, and it's open to the public. When the round's over, there's cold beer and a full menu at the Eagle Point Pub and Bistro. Call 812-824-1100 to make a tee time. That's 812-824-1100. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This is AJ Moye.
This is Dan Dockett.
Hey, this is Michael Lewis, former Indiana basketball player.
This is Indiana football coach Tom Allen.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat. You can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for each and every day. Or, of course, on 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our safety. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
Hey, it's Michael Lewis, former Indiana University player and current UCLA assistant basketball coach, and you're listening to Indiana Sports Beat.
Don Fischer is brought to you by Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington, located on the square at 123 South College Avenue on the southwest corner. Call 812-336-7229. Personal injury, criminal, or business. Jeremy Temple Law Office of Bloomington will get you taken care of. And now, here's Don Fischer. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Coyle Leary here on this Monday. Of course, nothing makes a Monday better than the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. We've got him with us right now. Don, how are you, sir?
Doing well, Jim. How are you?
Good. I know you guys had a long trip, man. You had to come back from that trip yesterday, and not, of course, didn't get the win over at Illinois. But man, they played well enough to win, and there's no moral victories. But I was happy to see them play and put themselves in a position to win a game on the road.
Well, no question, and really, you could say that they did the same thing up at Purdue, even though they got beat 57-49, and shot the ball horrifically. But the last two games, obviously, and the preceding two ball games were two really big wins. Obviously, Minnesota and Penn State, one on the road, one at home. But losing both those ball games this past week on the road, you had to be excited about Indiana's effort, their energy level, the fact that they didn't put their heads down when they weren't knocking down shots. They were able to fight their way into these ball games, to hang in there against really tough atmospheres and do a lot of really good things in the sense of what they were trying to accomplish. But they did not come out with victories in either case. Yesterday it was kind of heartbreaking in some respects. I have some things I probably shouldn't say about it, but there's one thing that really bugged me to tears. Was the fact, and we'll go to that in a second. But again, I was really pleased with what I saw from this Indiana team in regard to their effort level, their energy level, and what they put out on the floor for a full 40 minutes.
Absolutely, and like I said, everyone would like to see the win, and the fact that they were in a position to win against a team that is as good as Illinois is. But you want to see a team that can go out and have that killer instinct, and the fact that some simple things like free throws really could have cost that game. We've talked about that a lot as they head into the tournament. So there's a lot, there's good and there's bad as they head in that direction. But they have 2 home games to finish out on, and hopefully get this stuff worked out.
Well, there's no question. I mean, if you look at the Purdue game, it boils down to one thing: they couldn't make shots. I mean, when you shoot 21% in one half and 29% in the other half, you're not going to beat too many teams. And the fact that they were still in the ball game in the final minute and a half, what kind of gives you an indication of how hard this Indiana team played in that ball game, despite their shooting woes. Only one player in double figures, Devontae Green, with 11 points, and I think he had 8 of those points in the first half. From the second standpoint, from the Indiana-Illinois game yesterday, I was really pleased with how hard Indiana played and really what they were able to accomplish against a really good Illinois ball club. They just didn't quite finish at the end of this contest, but their heads were up. They knocked down 50% of their three-point shots, which was a real plus. Had they done that against Purdue, they would have probably walked away with the win rather than having lost by 8 points. But when you look at what they did against Illinois yesterday, in some respects, it was really pleasing to say the least. They out-rebounded a bigger Illinois team in some respects, 39-31. And with Kofi Coburn, who is just a tremendous, massive human being that's really talented and athletic at 7 foot and 290 pounds, to hold him to 3 points in the first half was really big. But then they really concentrated on getting him the basketball in the second half of the ball game, and of course he had 15 for the contest. He had 12 second half points, and he was a critical factor in why they were able to maintain their lead, or at least keep Indiana at bay. But all that said, I just like the fight in this team. I thought that they battled. They had very tough circumstances. In my opinion, in regard to the officiating in both ball games, I thought the pushing and grabbing and all the things that we saw at the Purdue game kind of always also flourished in the Illinois contest. And I'm not saying that Indiana doesn't do some of that as well, but I just think sometimes it looks almost flagrant. And speaking of that, that's what I want to talk about, or I was alluding to earlier when I said I'd move on there and get to it later. There should have been a flagrant foul called against Illinois. DeMonte Williams threw an elbow that hit Rob Finney, and this is in the second half, midway or actually late in the second half. They had a replay of it that they showed on TV, and that replay showed the guy throwing the elbow that hit Finney at the end of the play, and it was after the play was over with. And then the officials came over to look at it with the replay people at Illinois, and they never showed it again. They did not show the officials that play. And we saw the replay after it happened. So in both Eric and I were sitting right there. We were sitting right next to the replay people with their monitors sitting right there. We could see everything that they were showing. They never showed that play to the officials, and the official, Terry Oglesby, said, "Is that all you got for me?" Because they really stopped it before the elbow was thrown. They stopped the replay before the elbow was thrown to show him. Can you believe that? I mean, that's unbelievable.
Now, that's something that says the Big Ten Conference has got to step in and do something about.
Well, I would think, but nobody knows that, because I guess we're probably the only ones that saw it, because we were sitting right there watching what they were showing the official, and they never showed that the end of that play, or it was the end of the play, but they never showed that part of the flagrant foul where he threw the elbow. And so the official says, "Well, if that's all you got for me, there's nothing we can call here." So it should have been 2 shots for Rob Finney at the free throw line, and Indiana gets the basketball, and that was at a crucial point in this ball game. So I'm just flustered by it. I'm pretty mad about it. Obviously, there's nothing I can do about it, but they literally did not show the end of that play to the official.
Man, that does blow my mind, Don, because that is really – I'm thinking Houston Astros right now. Then on top of that, and we've not one time have you ever mentioned officials the entire season, as a matter of fact, and ever since you've been on the show ever. But in that last sequence of that game also, there was the trip where he was tripped. There was a foul on the three-point, and they gave Illinois a timeout without having possession. So it was a weirdly officiated game.
Well, you're talking about Tennessee being knocked to the floor?
Yes.
Yeah, he got tripped and he hit, and then they called a jump ball. And it was their possession turn. I can't remember that part of it, but
they gave him a timeout when they did not even have possession.
Right, exactly.
So it was a horrible sequence.
Well, and there was another situation where Justin Smith had his hands on the ball that they called it. They said it was a timeout. I think that was in the first half, or I can't remember. At any rate, there was a time. Justin Smith had his hands on the ball. It should have been a jump ball call, and they never called the jump ball. They called a timeout for Illinois. I'm sitting there. You got to be kidding me. So at any rate, I don't like to get on officials, but I have seen too much of the negative officiating this year. Things that I think are just wrong, and how they've officiated ball games. I mean, some of the things that happened in that Purdue contest from a physical standpoint were just ridiculous. So, at any rate, that's my little rant this morning. I apologize for.
Well, actually, we had that conversation, and who is holding those guys accountable? They act like they do, but I don't think that they really are held accountable per game because they're not improving. That's just my opinion. And I'm like you. There's no point in talking about it. But at some point, you have to at least acknowledge it. And the things you brought up today, that's staggering.
Well, obviously the officials had nothing to do with the replay aspect of it. They just could watch what they show them. But,
right.
The fact that the Illinois people who were running the replay did not show them the end of that play, that just fries my cookies.
I can imagine. I imagine that would upset our coach Archie Miller if he knows that as well. So that's stunning.
We'll know about it tonight. We'll talk to him about it.
Well, I can't wait to hear that tonight on the show. Make sure you're tuning in for tonight's after the Coaches Miller show with Don Fischer. That's for dang sure.
Well, I don't even know if Archie knows at this point. So if he gets a little angry, well, trust me. At this juncture, there's nothing you can do about it because they're never going to overturn a win or anything like that because of it. But the fact that it happened and that there should be some repercussions from it, either for the University of Illinois' replay people or whoever, but they never showed that replay that we saw after the play took place because we saw it. I can't remember if we saw it on the big screen or if we saw it on their replay that they showed, but they never showed that replay to the officials.
Unbelievable. The Hoosiers, as I stated earlier, have 2 home games to finish out on, Don. Right now, they're actually, you look at the Big Ten standings, they're in that last 4, that group that has to play on the first day, but that will, I think, alleviate itself over these last 2 home games as Minnesota comes to visit, and then a tough Wisconsin team to finish out the season.
Well, there's no doubt. And Minnesota's had 2 gut-wrenching losses this week themselves, falling to Maryland at the end and falling yesterday to Wisconsin at the end. They had both of those teams beat at one point and could have won each of those games and did not. They fall 2 games below 500 with their season record at this point. They probably have knocked themselves out of the NCAA tournament completely at this juncture, but they will still be fighting because they showed that this week and how hard they played against 2 very good basketball teams and gave both of them all they could handle. But yesterday, of course, on the road at Wisconsin. So to give the Badgers, who are on a 6-game winning streak right now, that kind of a battle at their place yesterday, it gives you some indication that Minnesota cannot be taken lightly. And then, of course, you've got Wisconsin coming to town. They beat Indiana by 20 points when Indiana faced them up in Madison. Indiana needs to reverse that scenario when they play them at home on Senior Day on Saturday. And it's going to be a tough challenge. There's no question about that because Wisconsin is red hot right now.
Absolutely. And like I said, we got the coaches show tonight, so we're looking forward to hearing that exchange, Don.
Well, we'll see what happens. Archie may say we're not bringing it up, or don't bring it up, or don't talk about it. But I'm going to bring it up to him at least, so he knows, because I don't know if he knows what happened yesterday in that regard.
The great Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. Don, thank you, sir. Look forward to talking to you next week. Hopefully we'll be talking about a couple of wins.
Well, that's what we hope for. Obviously, if they get a couple of wins, I think they're in the NCAA tournament. That pretty much solidifies itself. But I think these two games are critical in that vein as well.
I couldn't agree more. Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. Thank you, sir. Look forward to it every week.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it.
You betcha. There he is, the voice of the Hoosiers. We appreciate Fish joining us as he does each and every week. That game was just a horribly officiated game. We've talked about it all day, and that's not something we do. We haven't done it all season, so I don't mind doing that today because everything that we've talked about was legit, warranted, and it doesn't matter. We know that. But you got to talk about it sometimes. Man, it was a great show today as always. Christian Lander, the latest commitment to the Indiana Hoosiers, joined us. If you didn't get a chance to listen to that, go back and pick it up on the rebroadcast of the show. Any place you find a podcast. And by the way, feel free to share the show out. We greatly appreciate that from everybody. We appreciate all the text today. We're back tomorrow with plenty more on the program as well. Make sure you tune in. And then until then, for Todd and Larry, for Jake, I am Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.